So, yet another whim has brought me to come back to YouTube aside from the reaction content I'm now doing because I'm insane. Time for another manga rant, as you can... Manga rant, what the fuck? Okay, keeping that in. Manga rant. As you can see from the images beside me, I need to remember the way to look, we're talking about a certain manga I happen to know about, because time for a bit of backstory. See, I'm a pretty avid fan of Yoko Taro and his various works, Drakengard, discounting too, because it didn't even involve him, Near, all that good fancy stuff, and, there's a good amount of side content for the Yoko Taro's works, and it's too much to go into. No, because we're here to talk about this one today. The manga known as Drakengard, Fatal Crimson, or Lethal in Red, or in Japanese, Dragon Dragoon Shini Ataru Aka. I'm not going to say this title incessantly, so we'll simply refer to it as Fatal Crimson for the sake of simplicity throughout this video. Interesting thing to start with this manga, though, before we get into any details, and this isn't going to be some comprehensive review. I literally just have a list of notes I made when I speed read the manga like a day ago for the sake of this video, and I'm just going to be quick and dirty because this ain't a review, this is a rant. The thing is, Fatal Crimson wasn't actually written by Taro. He didn't even really supervise it, but it was written by Emi Nagashima under her alias June Shima, who had worked with Taro both on the original Drakengard and even done its novelization way back in the day at this point, because goddamn, that game is almost 20 years old. So this is a person who, true, while not Taro themselves, does have a pretty deep connection. So Shima is basically as good as Taro himself when it comes to making side content for Drakengard. Considering this is Taro we're talking about, from my research, he did say if he was going to supervise this, he would have just had everybody kill each other recklessly without a real plot, which, that's pretty on brand for Taro, to be totally honest with you. Not that this isn't a murder fest. God, this manga is such a murder fest, seriously. Thankfully, though, the heads-up warning I'll give is Fatal Crimson is a depressing read. It's not a manga to read when you want to feel good or heroic. It is Yoko Taro mood through and through. Everything fucking sucks in this manga. None of the characters are good people. Everybody gets brutally murdered in one way or another, and, oh, it's not... Alright, yeah, this manga is thankfully pretty damn short. There's only 21 chapters, 3 books, so not a short read at all. If you're like me and you just skim shit, it's like an hour or two. But we're not here to talk about how long or short this manga is. We're here to rant to hell about it. The basic side of it is, like I said, not made by Taro, very Taro in theme, and, well, let's just say that this manga's out of pocket as fuck. Like, aside from very, very rampant amounts of, wanton murder, violence, various other things of that sort, a normal day in a Taro, the images I have provided probably say plenty of that compared to everything else. Yeah. It's not hard to see why this manga's out of pocket as hell. Boy. The summary of this manga is it takes place after Drakengard 3. Not gonna go into that too deeply here. If you want to, I recommend watching Clemps about it. Pretty good video series about it, summarizes it, gets to it. Pretty good video on Drakengard as a whole, actually. So, go watch that. We're here to talk about this manga, which the backstory is Drakengard 3, game that happened. Things happened. There's a guy named One, brother, One, complicated, no need to explain it. And this manga is about him, after the events of that game, but also before the events of One. Kind of. It's complicated. He also is accompanied by this elf named Nero, who's just the biggest fucking asshole. Honestly, he's like, you really hate this guy over the course of this manga, and he gets away with all of it, because the story of Drakengard is not one where, good people have good things happen to them. Unfortunately. So, yeah. The funny thing with Nero is, though, you can tell they kind of wanted to have him be a gunslinger, but couldn't justify it with the setting, so they gave him fancy crossbows that look like handguns and a rifle, and they just kind of had to go with it. Legna's also here. He's from Drakengard 2 for some reason, and yeah, he's just here to be a dick, basically. The manga also gets more complicated just because of the fact it's like, oh, well, it can't be Drakengard 1, so it has to be a bit different in order to, like, you know, go on a different path, and then that just leads into another side novel called Drakengard 1.3, and just gets even more complicated. The short summary is there are 3 arcs of the story. Arc 1 is just introducing you to Brother 1 and Nero, and it's about them murdering a village. And then this priest lady named Faye, that's basically about it. It's not a whole lot, they're just being murder hobos, to be blunt about it. 1 is doing this to stop this plague from the first game known as the Red Eye Plague, that's about it. It's pretty simple. Yeah, that's about all that happens in Arc 1, it's just murder hobo time. That's it. Very simplistic. This story is a mercifully short read, thank God. Arc 2 is kind of the big, more important one for that volume because it deals with characters from Drakengard 1, Kaim and his sister Furii, and it's also when shit just gets fucking weird. Because it's like, oh, hey! It's just, this is the arc with the weird-ass fan service, and it's probably the most out-of-pocket one of the bunch. Just, without shame. Without shame. It is actively hard to read. Very, very hard to read when you're trying to be sensible about any of it. And it's just, you really fucking hate Nero by the end of it. That's about it. But yeah, Arc 2 is basically, how can we make the start of Drakengard 1 somehow worse by making Kaim more murder Prince furious than he already was, and oh yeah, make Furii go insane because Legna shows up and murders basically everybody that Nero and 1 didn't anyway. Yeah, it's some out-of-pocket shit, because of course it is. It's Drakengard. Everything in the series is out-of-pocket as hell. And then, in the end of this mercifully thank ride, Arc 3 is, again, short. 1 and Nero go to some new town, shit's going down, witch executions. Apparently, of course, it's the most obvious fake-outs. The fake-outs is like, oh no, somehow Sister 1 from Drakengard 3 is somehow not dead, except she's actually not, and it's actually Nero's sister from the elf village who used magic to dupe all these red eyes into following her and a bunch of very mutilated people into also following her when, you know, it seemed like she was healing them. It's not, it's just bad. And of course, as being a Drakengard work, everything goes from bad to worse by the end of it, because of course it does. Basically, Legna shows up, kills Nero's sister because he doesn't give a shit, reveals that he's actually been tailing 1 to keep him alive, so that way, you know, 1 as an intoner, because shit is whack, spreads the Red Eye Plague just basically by existing, and Legna's like, yeah, no, keep that shit going because I want to see the world burn. So then by the end of it, 1 is basically just all in despair and is like, hey, Nero, kill me. He doesn't. Nero beheads him, and then uses his head to spread the plague, because Nero's a dick. It's just, it ends there, and I mean, hey, we get some showing of stuff that leads into that side novel for Drakengard with Kaim being best murder prince, and that's about it, really. Manga ends with revealing that Accord was watching over it, and that's all. Accord's a character from Drakengard 3 too. It's too much to explain in a freaking short, less than 10-minute-ish rant video. But yeah, that is my very quickly summary thoughts, or no, just a very brief summary of it in general. As for the rant, like I said, this manga it's not a fun read. It's not a terrible story, it's just depressing, out of pocket, hard to read at times, which, knowing the way Aishima writes is definitely the point, but it doesn't mean I have to, you know, be like, oh yeah, no, it's perfectly fine and dandy because everyone's a fucking asshole. No, it's just, you know, it is what it is. It's just, it's not a manga you recommend to people to read on a Saturday evening. It's more of a like, hey, this is some weird lore stuff for this niche series that I happen to be interested in, and it's there. You don't have to read it. I ever don't recommend you read it because it's out of pocket as shit. And, yeah, no, that's about all I have to say in this regard, because this manga is just so freaking, it's just grimdark is what it is. I mean, Drakengard is already grimdark enough as is, but this manga is just like, how grimdark can we take it? Not quite 40k grimdark, but definitely just a bit a notch above the usual Drakengard grimdark, you know? So it makes things, intense. Again, it's thankfully short. 21 chapters of manga is hardly too bad to read at all, especially for something, you know, that goes this long. Frickin'. But still, it's a thing to get through. It's just, yeah. Don't read this if you're not that in. Like, if you're a big Yoko Taro Lore like I am, Lore Nut like I am, maybe read it if you're just curious about some of the weird out-of-pocket shit that this series happens to have on the side. If not, save yourself the pain of the afternoon and just avoid reading it. That's all I can say. It's if you want to see some out-of-pocket grimdark shit from Drakengard because you're into that, then go ahead. As for me, I'm gonna reread Utahime 5 in preparation for a thing I'm writing, but also because Utahime 5 isn't bad. It's actually kind of a fun read before you get into Drakengard 3. With that, yeah, I think we're done here.